So Matin, why did you start Heap?
So I started Heap about 5.5 years ago, and it was born out of my frustration dealing with customer data at my previous job as a product manager at Facebook.
Okay.
So one of the reasons I joined Facebook was because I saw it as a paragon of data-informed decision-making as a company. And it was in many ways. It had really sophisticated analytics infrastructure, it had the smartest data scientists in the world, it had a treasure trove of really powerful data. And I thought it was really exciting to be able to join an organization that made data that ready for consumption and to be able to take that and understand where we can leverage and have impact on the world. So that was really exciting to me. And I was naive enough to think, oh, because I know SQL, I can just go in there and be able to have an impact and use data effectively. It turns out it was not that simple. It turns out actually that by far the biggest barrier to using data effectively wasn't necessarily the infrastructure or having a PhD in statistics or understanding SQL, it was actually having the data in the first place.
Yeah.
So because I never had the data I needed to answer my questions, I would need to go bother engineers to write tracking code for me, wait for tracking code to go live, wait for data to come in, loop in a bunch of data scientists and analysts to make sense of the data for me. And by the time I would get the answers to the questions that I had, literally months would go by.
That does sound really frustrating.
Yeah, and it clearly doesn't seem like the future, right?
Right, exactly.
And so the thinking was with Heap, well, we have to rethink this from the ground up. And that's what we try to do.
And what makes Heap unique?
So the key difference with Heap is that we automatically collect all of your customer data.
Okay.
So every click, form submission, page view, we will just pull all of that data up as events so that you have access to that complete customer journey right at your fingertips, and so that when you have a question, the data to answer it is already there. You don't need to get bottlenecked on engineers or data analysts to either produce or prepare the data for you.
Which really helps you make data-driven decisions faster.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what are you hearing when you talk to customers?
So the number one thing I hear from customers is the issues they have making sure their data is trustworthy. I was actually visiting a Fortune 100 financial services company that's one of our clients a couple weeks ago. And they were mentioning all of the efforts they had taken to try to build a data-informed culture internally at their company. So they had practices on SQL, they had internal seminars on how to analyze data effectively, even statistical primers for some of their employees. They were pretty advanced in terms of how they were able to get their organization to be data ready.
That's a lot.
But at the end of the day, by far, the big issue that they had was, well, we have all of this data, but when it comes down to a product manager or a marketer being able to use that data effectively, they don't necessarily trust the underlying data, or they don't necessarily know what it means. So you're back to square one where they're bottlenecked on others to just make sense of data for them. So that's a trend I'm seeing broadly within our customer base, not just Fortune 100 companies, but even startups just trying to get the data practice built out within their own companies.